who come see what we do here, they learn if they have the stomach to watch the meeting, and they can.
They got a library of old meetings and stuff.
Leroy, our vice president, publishes the videos, so you get to that. The Google Plus discussion group, there's a link to that, which is becoming more active.
Well, this sounded pretty interesting. Mostly I wanted to have fun hanging out with, people who are a little, nerdly, I guess. Yeah.
You're in the right place.
It's social and fun.
In a good way, nerdy.
Well, yeah, I would never use nerdy in a bad way.
And then Jeremy, a guy, he's getting into lock stuff, so he wants to start another lock sport. He calls it lock sport. So he showed us how to pick locks.
Really?
He's a network security guy.
Sure.
Let's see, Google Plus discussion group, and also the quick news, which I hadn't done anything with this year.
I probably won't read that then.
Okay. Sometimes there's interesting stuff, like, have you heard of Graphene?
No.
It's a very unique idea. What it is a single layer, a single atom layer of
carbon,
graphite. Very interesting superconductivity-like characteristics.
I did hear something about that.
Probably on
I don't know.
probably on the Orville they talked about it.
Well, I was reading about, geez, I don't even remember what it's called, about the people that got the Nobel Prize. This was, decades ago. They got the new form of carbon, they superheated it or something, and it was something. It sounded kind of like that.
The way they developed this one was they wrote on a piece of paper with graphite pencil, and then got cellophane tape and put that on top of it, and the remaining layer is graphene. And they're just now coming into production with some graphene products. Some of the touch screens are graphene because of the single layer and superconductivity characteristics. So it's
what temperature does it? Does it superconduct at room temperature or anything?
Yeah. I don't know if it's real superconductivity, but it's good conductivity.
But it's better than most. No.
Yeah, it's higher conduct. It's the most conductive material we have.
Sure.
Which is interesting because it's probably the cheapest material we have.
Well, I remember reading in the old spy novel, somebody draw a pencil line between two nodes, to cause a carbon short. The same thing.
The characteristics have to do with only being a single layer thick, though.
Right.
That's why they use the cellophane to do that. Anyhow, this week we have Leroy doing the Balboa balance robot.
Hopefully.
And we do links. Here's links to the balance robot video, which I stuck in there just to give somebody an idea.
Was that that's the one where? That's not mine.
It's a Circle 8. It's a Circle 8 or the other one.
Yeah, that's the one that's the production video to sell you to sell it to you.
And this is last week, and then futures, and link to members if you want a corner and you want to document your projects. There's my corner. I'm Jim's corner. Leroy's corner.
You have a corner.
He should be put in the corner. But we have club participation notes. So if you want to see projects people have done, some people have put their projects in these folders, and I create a folder on the cloud and say go, or you can create your own folder, and I'll point it at your folder. It doesn't matter. Just a link. Club member participation notes, that's just a copy basically of the projects we did. I take what's here, when I put up the next project, I take that, move it over there.
Right.
And so we kind of track what we've been doing. If you want to look at what we've been up to. And some other stuff. Trash can transport, something I've been working on for a couple of years, supposedly a group project. I'm making fast progress, aren't I, guys? Fast.
And it's
only been 2
iterations.
years.
They have a skull session and we'll try this. So it's gone through iterations.
I got my second drive. I'm using a brushless BLDC motor. brushless DC motor. They make them for these scooters and for these balance scooters. Have you seen those? Where you
like hoverboard?
Hoverboard, yeah, hoverboard.
Yeah.
I got a couple hoverboard motors. I said, man, that's great. I'm gonna move trash cans from beside the house to the street.
Okay.
That's the objective. And I was using motors and gears and chains, and I said I found these brushless motors already configured, and it's all the motor and everything is like this. It's already there.
Right.
No chain, no nothing. Just bolt the wheel to it, and the wires go through the shaft, and it's basically a stepper motor, a DC stepper, three-phase DC motor. And built in is sensors, Hall effect sensors.
Okay.
So it adjusts the voltage and the pulse to the position. So if you're getting behind where you should be,
right.
it can bump up the voltage and also bump up the speed. At higher speeds with a stepper motor, you need much higher voltages. You can run much higher voltages to give you more torque. So that my last month was I tried a drive that did not use the Hall effect sensors, and I found out the torque was ridiculous. It was probably half the torque of using the Hall effect sensors. And they make a drive for these things. They'll drive up to 500 watts.
Did your trash cans end up like a half block away?
Yeah, we should be able to send it a half mile away.
Just wondering, it's like people looking out seeing the trash cans moving by themselves.
Been a lot of discussions on how to do it. I came up with my final direction to get it out to the road and back was to use a compass. And very accurate. I can go out and back to the end of the driveway 100 feet and be within 6 inches of my starting position.
Right.
So I found the compasses are very accurate. And Vicente, one of our guys here, has got another technique that's really interesting. He's using a ultrasonic transducer speaker to send pulses to the distance monitors.
Right.
And he likes to use 3 points, 3 beacons.
What, for parallax then?
So you can determine where you are.
Triangulation. Yeah.
Triangulation. That's a better word than parallax.
So he's got that nailed down to where he's saying he can get within 2 centimeters.
Centimeters, yeah.
2 centimeters. I need to be within plus or minus 2 feet, and I'm good.
Right.
I said, but I want to do it 2 sensors. So he's got some working stuff, and not just 100 feet, 100 yards. He can go within 2 centimeters at 100 yards, and I'm going, wow. And by the way, he was showing some of the ultrasonic transducers. They sell them for like 99 cents for the robots, and he's found one that has built-in temperature compensation. I said, whoa, that's cool.
I thought I was the one that posted that one.
Oh, okay. May have been you.
I don't
You
know.
may have started that. So that's cool.
How's the progress on your drivers for those brushless motors?
I got the new driver in this week, but this week and next week I'm done. I'm doing nothing. I'm out of service effectively, which is about normal for me. What else we got? The website meeting notes. So that's about it. We like to have people do presentations. Leroy does a lot of presentations for the club. We try not to abuse him too much, but it is a lot of fun. We try to have freedom from fear. You come in here, you don't criticize. We don't criticize us. We don't criticize what other people say. We try to respect other people's feelings and all that good stuff. And we try to make our stuff educational too, if we can, where you have fun, but you might actually learn something too. So we try to kind of put stuff in that direction. And we got a light group today. We've been filling up the room. I noticed that.
Last week.
How many people do you typically get to this?
We've had
The last few times, it's pretty much been full.
house. Yeah, we have about a dozen normally, but it varies. The weather's taking a lot of people out.
What's the circuit board from then? Or do you just buy this like
No, it was purchased.
It was purchased.
Yeah.
I don't know if you took it from something else or if it
There's
was...
a guy that Ray. He has a shop where he laser stuff and robots and.
We had a club robot presentation at one time where everybody got a robot that wanted one.
Right.
And
well, it doesn't look too tough to build.
Don't say that around Ray.
Okay, it doesn't look too tough to
You
build
did
if it's
some of
going
that
to do a
at
crappy
Ray's,
job when
didn't
you're
you?
done. Getting it right is probably going to take a lot more skull sweat.
That one that was the board itself was already like that, so but that's how they sell the boards. You've got to put your own motors on.
Sure.
And solder the battery
What's your
terminals.
name again?
Oh, I'm Lance, by the way.
Mike.
Well, that's good.
Lance,
Okay, so
Lance forgot to
That's
tell us who
Leroy,
he was.
Jim, Mike, and Mike.
And there's another Mike and another Mike and
The Mike that's not here made that aperture, that arm for the camera.
and here's Vicente.
Here's Vicente.
Okay. This is Vicente. This is Lance.
Nice to meet you.
Lance.
First
Lance.
time.
Vicente.
First time member. First time
Do
visitor.
you want to sit here?
We're very casual. We encourage people to come in late. He's our
the guy
star
that got it
today.
from feet to centimeters on the trash can trail.
Oh, okay.
We're talking about the your ultrasonic transducer. Triangularization. We're saying I needed plus or minus 2 feet at a plus or minus 2 feet location within 100 feet, and you're saying plus or minus 2 centimeters at 100 meters or something like that. So that might be
Working on
close.
it, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So you still working, Lance?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I think. No, you don't work, do you?
No.
We talked about the new ultrasonic transducer thing
I retired last year.
Yeah, I have time.
that you didn't find, Leroy found, or somebody found, with the built-in temperature compensation. Did you see that?
No.
Ultrasonic distance transducer with built-in temperature compensation, and also temperature and.
You need to compensate.
Yeah,
for
it seems.
temperature, but not for pressure.
Okay.
Mike was right about that.
Okay.
Doesn't matter the
pressure.
the height about sea level, the pressure. Just the temperature.
Okay.
And maybe the wind. If you are outside.
So this was like $5 for one with built-in temperature compensation.
Yeah, it was more expensive. It seems like I ordered some. I probably
That
need
wouldn't
to.
surprise us.
I probably need to check on that because
And nobody's going to ask you why.
have no idea if I ordered those or not.
Don't ask Leroy why.
See, there's a place in Springboro called MCM. They
Nope,
moved.
gone.
So they lost a major place where they can go to Springboro, and they moved out of state.
Wow. Moved and sort of lost the branding. So.
This is the Sumo. The Sumo difficult.
Sumo, the original Sumo. I finally got one.
And this is.
That-
You bought that? Or
Yeah. This one will do. This one will do balancing as well. Yeah.
Okay.
It stands like that.
We actually start here, opening the area up to 5. About 5 o'clock, we start putting this beast up and getting everything and having casual conversations about what's going on. And about 5:30, it gets sometimes it gets formal, other times not so much.
It's sort of 5:30.
Yeah, I think we're over the line.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure when I was going to make it here. I live in Florence, and just the drive up is like. It's not the distance; it's the it's having it. Yeah, it's this thing starting at 5:30, and it's like everybody's like. The GPS says you are so screwed, dude.
You have to go across bridges and deal with downtown, and then deal with.
No, it took me around the loop. It took me around the east side of the loop.
That's probably the way to do it at this time of day.
But then once I got close to here. I mean, it wasn't too much trouble until I got within about 10 miles of here. And then it started saying, you know, I started, you know, it's like, yeah, I can walk faster here.
That's probably true.
Frank's another late member. He'll be dragging in maybe.
Maybe. Haven't seen Frank much.
Okay, anybody have anything else new to talk about before we go into the formal session?
This is the what's the name of this?
The Balboa?
Balboa.
Yeah. Yeah. I just put brand new batteries in both of these. Are we ready to do something maybe?
Okay.
Or
Whenever you're ready.
I don't know if I'm ready. I just know.
Is that a new stand?
Different camera.
Different oh, it came with a camera?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying stuff too.
Yeah, I know.
I'll just do it. I couldn't get you. We probably could play the video. You want to play the Pulu's
Okay.
video so we can get an idea of what it
I saw the video.
of what it's supposed to do?
I
I couldn't get it to
stand by itself, right?
I couldn't get it to stand up by itself, but I was using partially dead batteries, so new batteries might actually make it work better. So.
We have issues playing videos in this room sometimes.
And we got gremlins. That's what we've deduced to 2 gremlins.
Probably what I need to do is just make it a tab.
Every place has gremlins. They get blamed for a lot. There's probably some really gremlins somewhere. It's the bandwidth or whatever at the library. That's the other point.
They're blocking part of YouTube or something.
Every part, whatever. I mean, anytime you've been in the library or any kind of public access, the Wi-Fi is usually pretty sucky.
Our throughput is actually, last time was just amazing, but I think they're doing stuff like filtering.
Right.
Or
Yeah,
throttling.
Did net neutrality yet already? Is that, I mean...
That should be it.
I think they throttle YouTube is what I think they do. Because even when I try to stream it, it's horrible. But it's supposed to stand up.
Mm-hmm.
It'll play a little tune, and it will do like figure eights.
Okay.
I can get it to do the figure eights. I can get it to play the tune. I can't get it to stand up on its own. So. But we'll try it with new batteries because I had crappy batteries.
Now, did you build this then?
It's a partial kit. They give you the battery box, the plastic arm things to help it, to keep it from falling over.
Sure.
You've got to buy your own motors. You've got to buy your own wheels. And then they provide the circuit board. And it's basically familiar with Arduino Leonardo boards. It's got the same processor as the Leonardo, but it's set up with some other sensors and some other stuff already on board.
But it will balance upright somehow?
It will. So I'm going to hit the button now that it's calibrated itself. And we'll see if it will actually...
Oh,
good
wow.
Lord.
Those batteries really
I think batteries made all the difference in the world. Now there's no sensor to keep it from falling off. So
Yeah, well, I am amazed that it's gotten this close to the edge twice, though, and...
Oh.
What's it got, gyro? How's it stand? I mean,
Yes, there's a gyroscope.
Is gyro in there to keep it upright?
There is. It's an IMU. 6-axis.
How is the coupling between the motors and the wheels? There is a here.
Oh, having something that slips on.
Keep going, I'm going to short video.
doing the curly. It's doing the
They are
curly.
not aligned.
Well. Stop.
Lance, this is Jeremy. Jeremy, this is Lance.
Hey there, Jeremy.
Good Lord. Good batteries really seem to make a big, huge difference.
It was slugging along, wasn't it?
Oh! Killed my $100 robot. Stop. Jeez. Go away.
Iberflog.
Oh, jeez. Okay, so.
Did Bob boot it up finally?
Does it do any kind of sensing?
So you see how it just jumped up? Mine sort of did that after I put good batteries in it.
What kind of batteries do you have in it?
There's six AA batteries in here.
Oh wow.
Six. So it was actually trying to do the figure eights too. I think the table's just too small for it.
Yeah, we need a big floor.
Big area. There is 50 to 1. The metal gearboxes are 50 to 1 ratio. And then where'd my paper go? We've got plastic gearboxes that further change it and
Outside the motor.
outside the motor, right? And that was the 45 to 21 gear ratio.
2 to 1.
Yeah, 2.4 to 1. But I'm not sure what. Let's see. The actual ratio with that is 110 to 1.
Total. Yeah, multiply 50
Right.
by 2.4.
Right. So it's 100 and then you put that in. You put 111 in the program, so it knows what its gear ratio is.
Okay.
And I forget why they increased it to 11, but
Why they don't use the direct coupling? Maybe it's not strong enough.
they didn't really say why they.
There are motors 100 to 1.
Right. They didn't really say why they did it like that, other than to save the motors. So.
Yeah, because the motor is not strong enough.
Yeah, that's what they.
Couple the direct.
Is it programmable?
It is.
And what do you write the program in?
Arduino. So the board is called an A-Star 32U4, which is their custom board. What are you watching now, Jim?
Some kind of
autonomous. It's whatever's next.
It just got sucked into the YouTube zone.
It just got sucked into the YouTube vortex.
Just rolling along.
Make live building Eddie the self-balancing robot.
So this board, they call this board an A-Star 32U4, which is what the Leonardo chip is. And you install that into the board's manager just like you would any other board in Arduino. Program it just like it's anything else. There's libraries for the Zumos, there's libraries for this thing, so you just invoke whatever class you need to make it do whatever. They don't have a whole lot of examples for this thing though. The example code that they have was basically that. I modified it just slightly because when I was playing with it with almost dead batteries, I couldn't get it to do much of anything. So now I'm probably going to have to go back and change it so that it slows it down just a little bit or something.
It flies.
Yeah, it was flying.
Crazy.
That was fast. I wasn't expecting that.
The gyros on a separate board?
Nope, gyros.
Built into it?
It's built into it. You can actually see them, or see it. It's right here. That's the gyroscope chip. There's a second gyroscope sensor somewhere. It's got
Kind of warm.
9-axis sensor, but they're only using the Y-axis to do that right now. So you could actually improve on it if you actually used more of the axes. Because the code is only using one axis right now to do it. But it's basically a PID loop. That's not a PID loop. Which, you know, it gets feedback, it goes through and it corrects. So the front of it is actually the battery box. The back of it is the circuit board. So when it wants to go forward, it actually leans backwards, and then it goes forward. And when it's going backwards, it leans forward and goes.
How it detects the border on the table?
It doesn't.
Not yet.
No.
Why it was turning?
That was just random
Okay.
chance of luck that it.
Okay. Because I saw many times going
Yeah.
close.
No,
back.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
It was. That's just random chance of luck that it was not falling off the table.
Not sure how often I would have
It's
break
alive.
This is way more fun than.
Yeah. Well, when it fell,
Because
yes.
They have all kinds
you
of
need to
stuff.
try to.
Yeah. Try to see if you can. So.
Are those tank treads kind of thing? Is that
Yeah.
the kind of doodad it is? But that thing will flop all over the place, right?
This
I mean,
this thing flies. I brought these just because. Is that better?
Yeah.
Did you?
But
Can't get him to
fits in the
use
box,
Sumo
you know, might as well.
The way the sketch works, it wants to be starting position laying flat with the battery box down. You can modify it so that it starts upright, but I thought it was cool when it tries to pop
Yeah,
up.
pops a wheelie.
You let it calibrate the gyroscope, and the green light came on.
I'm gonna scare the dickens out of my wife with
Hello.
this.
Put in first gear, that thing.
Jeez.
How'd you slow it down?
The batteries are getting weaker. Those are brand new freaking
Do you have
batteries
to?
too.
Is this sucking the battery power that fast?
Oh,
Because those
I'll
are
be-
brand new batteries.
I'll
10
be
years
honest.
ago.
I bought cheap batteries because I'm cheap. But
That means they're drinking the battery juice like crazy.
Well, this is something like you see in Batman, and then it blows up. I mean, the Joker sends these things out. You know how this works, right?
I've got a video of my 2-year-old granddaughter
There you
running around chasing it,
Yeah.
or it chasing her.
Somehow it just wanted to turn there.
So this one here, I have never gotten it to balance right. I've always blamed it on the batteries.
Better get Leroy this guy stopped before we get that one going. We have bad, and we'd have even worse insanity.
It's gonna go your way.
Okay.
Does that one have to go upright?
No.
Like I say, on those tank treads, it looks like it just flip and flop and go wherever it needs to go.
Have you heard of Sumo Bots? Sumo Bots are competition robots,
It's like BattleBots.
sort of, but you're not actually destroying
Fewer
anything.
planes.
Okay.
That is just
if
so
you hit
cool.
something at backside,
Sometimes.
You killed it, Jeremy.
It's not a definite there.
Go there.
it likes Jeremy. Yeah, that's what I would sit on your lap. It's like a cat. The more you try to get rid of it, the more it comes back.
Sumo Bots are they're competition robots. It's basically a big circle, and you try to push the other robot out of the circle.
Okay.
There's different classes and there's different sizes. This is the smallest weight class. Come here.
Hey,
Uh,
you gotta talk to it. Get his little hat. His little triangle hat.
Yeah. So the smallest weight class are these guys. This one actually comes with a scoop and a sensor board on the bottom, but
Right.
if you want it to do self-balancing, you've got to take those off because the wheels don't fit there. Basically, it's a very similar thing that's got the gyroscope and some other sensors already on board. Most of the sensors that it's got are in order to detect its opponent so that it could push its opponent out of the ring.
Right.
But you can use them. I guess somebody figured out, hey, this actually will balance because it's just got enough room to do it.
So it's a true robot. It's not under remote control.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I remember they called battle bots. They called them robots, but they were guiding.
Those were RC cars.
Yeah, those were RCs. They were not robots.
Freaking lasers.
With lasers. This is the original model of this guy. The original couldn't balance. You can still take the scoop off, but it just wasn't designed to balance. Somebody figured out that this one would, but I mean, you look at that and there's no clearance. So if it snags up at anything, it's falling. This also uses the same board as this, but the sensors are in a slightly different spot and whatever, you know. But I've got a program installed on this one that.
It has a compass.
Is that it right there?
Compass.
Yes, it's got a compass.
Yeah, compass.
It's got a compass. It's got the gyroscopes in it. That's what this is. It's a compass. Why can't I remember that word? This one has a bunch of different sensors on it, and then when you put the IR on it, it can do the line following and all kinds of stuff. But I brought it because it's a robot.
Really, you can shine it like an infrared around and get it to go wherever you want.
Yeah, they use these to solve mazes and paint big black lines on white paper, and it'll maze solve, and it'll do it. You don't have to tell it anything at all about the maze. It'll just figure it out. It's got. This is an add-on board. So this one here has proximity sensors all the way around it. Of course, right now it's not programmed for proximity at all, but it's able to sense and detect if something is coming at it or if it's coming at something and it can correct and change. This is an add-on board that basically gives the original model the same functionality.
Okay.
And that's what this one does. I brought this one in once before, and we had it running around, moving out of the way of stuff. Actually, the one I brought in was Frank's. I finally acquired one of my own. Four batteries. There's still no edge detection, so if it heads off towards the wall, it's going to, or towards the floor, hopefully it will move out of the way because it should detect the proximity. So it should avoid. Now you remember when I did.
That's not bad.
Oh! Just as soon as you
It
said
keeps
it.
going. It keeps still going.
Just as you said it. Oh, yeah.
Does it have sensors on the bottom for reading?
For edge detection, yeah.
To keep it in the ring?
It didn't work
It-
over there.
It's not programmed for edge detection
it's
right
not.
now.
That's proximity.
It's not moving your laptop at all.
Hey.
So, is it following something, or is it trying to avoid things? What's its
It's-
avoidance?
It's trying to avoid.
It's obvious.
When I brought this in the first time, I put it in a big box, and the box was too small for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't want it to fall off the table. I think it has a problem with black. I don't think it sees.
It doesn't see that laptop.
I don't think it sees black real well.
The same kind of sensor the automatic toilets have.
Yes. That's exactly what they are. They're IR sensors.
They don't sense black either?
No, if you're wearing a black shirt and you back up from one of those, they don't flush all the time. You
Not
know?
all the time. But if you remember from the first time I did this,
I remember the box.
it was going in a box and it just wasn't working real well, so I brought it back.
I know,
Yeah.
right? It's just there and it picks up on that pretty fast.
So I don't think having it fall off the work.
It's got a pretty good range.
That's
10
pretty
to
good.
12 inches
Yeah,
at
that's
least.
much better.
Yeah. So that's what I got there. This add-on board, this robot will do the same thing
I hear something.
without the add-on board.
I thought it was still talking.
And apparently it works a little bit better, a little bit faster. But I found this add-on board on Kickstarter for like $20, and I thought, what the heck? What are you doing, Jim?
Hey, lighten it up, man.
So, if anybody wants to see those,
A cucaracha.
You guys want to see it?
Épale.
Can this one stand up from a down position? It looks like it's
sorta. Well,
with fresh batteries, maybe.
These were fresh batteries 10 minutes ago.
yeah. When the batteries were fresh, it tried to jump up.
It was crazy.
No. Here we go. It's supposed to be.
See,
up
it tried to jump up.
Yeah.
It's balancing.
For mating.
I can climb over.
I'm going back to see Jeremy. Jeremy.
He's wearing black
Oh, that's why.
No, there's no sensors on there for
that one.
It's like throwing away a boomerang.
It's programmed to go in a figure 8, so if we had enough room, it would actually be going in a figure 8. And playing circus music. Yes, please don't let them fall. These little guys are,
They're not that tough.
well, it's more,
Dropping 3.5 feet.
it's more about, toughness isn't that big a deal. It's more about expense. They're not cheap. No, it doesn't have any sensors anyway. Okay.
Disaster.
The only thing that I don't really particularly care about,
It's connected to Skynet.
yes. The only reason, or the only thing I don't particularly care about this one is how they've got the power on it. There's a power switch which is supposed to control the motors, and then there's an actual power button. Well, when you switch the motor power off, the motors still run until you hit the button. It seems counter. It seems wrong.
So that's this.
That's the second model.
It uses there are 8 batteries.
8 batteries.
Maybe it uses 5 or 6 for the electronics and all the batteries for the motors. You turn on the voltage of the motors.
That one's facing
And
uphill.
still there is some draining current.
It always faces
some way,
uphill.
some
Especially
part.
put a little IR collar on the, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the second model. It'll reject going in circles, rotations. I mean, it's an amazing little robot for $150. Of course, I did not pay $150 for it.
You paid the YouTube price.
No, I paid the
price.
eBay price. It'll cruise around upside down. I haven't tried that yet. I ought to try having it cruise around upside down.
Upside down.
See, It actually works.
On film, it works.
It worked. I watched a.
This is CGI though.
Yeah, I watched a blooper reel that they made. This, of course, they're trying to sell their product, right?
Right.
They put out a blooper reel, and they probably did that like at least 20 times before they got one where it actually was balancing the way they wanted it. This is the maze solving. Yes,
Okay.
please speed it up.
Yeah, that looks pretty recursive.
So you bring it back to the start, and it will go right where
Sure.
it needs to go. This is actually, there's actually a maze solving competition.
Uh-huh.
It's along the same lines as the Sumo Bot competition. That one he's controlling it with a remote, so
Right.
it's an RC then at that point. This one, they've got two different gear motor ratios, I think, on this one. But that's the Sumo Bot ring, and the idea is to try to push one out.
So they don't just hammer each other towards, they just push.
Plus not sweaty naked men.
Right.
They weigh 400 pounds.
And
It
that's
depends on
all of.
how sticky is the rubber against the.
Frank's got one of them, and it's just flat paint. It's a piece of wood with flat paint on it.
Yeah, but the
It
rubber
wants to be a
that
little
wing,
slippery.
the winner used to have better sticking to the
Oh.
surface. The rubber. or
Actually, it has a lot more to do with how it's programmed and the gear ratio of the motors. Frank's got one of his classes. He's got 15 or 20 of them, with a couple of them that have different gear ratios, and those will almost always lose because they're slower.
Really, slower is what killed. I would have thought going too fast, they wouldn't have the torque to do any real
You got
power.
inertia with speed, so.
Yeah.
Well, and once you start pushing,
Going up the refrigerator.
I don't
Yeah.
remember that one. Once you start pushing against it, you got to build some torque up to start really pushing on it.
Yeah.
So,
It's like a dragster, you get the treads burning, and you get a little gummy.
but they're neat. The version 2, the one with the screen, that is just an awesome little robot for not so much money. You can
Now,
find.
if you buy
I
it
found that
retail-
I found that one on eBay for $50 because the guy who put it together didn't have a clue what he was doing and soldered almost everything upside down.
So you got it for a third of the price.
That's why it's got an accelerometer in it, so it knows which way it's at.
The
That's
What are
what
the sensors on this?
you see this connector here?
Yeah.
He had this connector soldered on the top side. But after I got it and started looking at it real close, he had only soldered like 6 of the pins. So
Good.
oh, thank God, I could go with that.
That's enough to get all the pins to work.
He had no clue how to solder the motors in. The motors were basically loosely, not really even soldered. There was solder on them, but it was big balls
Yeah.
at the top, not on the board. He didn't have the battery connectors soldered right. I mean, he basically botched every
Everything
part.
that could be botched.
Every part of it that could be botched, he botched, and sold it cheap. And I got it and fixed it. I have not been able to test a couple of the things just because I didn't have another one to test it. Now that I've got another one to play with, I'm going to be able to test it. This one here is the original model. It can use either Uno or Leonardo. I've got an Uno on it. and found that finally got one for in the price range I was willing to pay, and I got that one for $65. But after I got it, this one looked like it was brand new, like nobody had even taken it out of the box.
Yeah.
So I think I got a good deal on it.
And the code's all open.
Yeah, the code's all open source and everything. But between, they're just fun. This was another $150, $200 robot at the time. And I paid more for version 1 than I did for version 2, but I had to do a lot of work to get this one unwork. So this is why you would want to change your gear ratios, because not everybody is going to use the same model robot.
The fridge.
Because it's a competition. You go to these big meets, and you can have, as long as it's in the same quote unquote weight class, you could have many different.
Yeah, and the weight class is not only weight but fits in a box
Size,
this big.
yes.
Yeah.
So. And that's why you want to plan, you want to maximize what you can do if you're going to use something small like that. Mean Machine wins. Hi.
You looking for automation technology?
Yes.
I thought you were.
There's our new meetup guy.
My name is Kapil.
Kapil? Yeah. Nice to meet you. Saw your sign up on Meetup.
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm a little late. I'm coming from Batavia, and
Huh.
I did not account for the traffic.
That's fine. We encourage being late. Most of us were late today. This is our new member, Lance.
Nice to meet you.
And go ahead and introduce yourself.
Jeremy?
Mike.
Mike.
Leroy.
Vicente.
Steve.
And I'm Jim. Welcome. We went through the introduction. Let's see.
What's your name again?
Kapil. K-A-P-I-L.
K-A-P-I-L.
Yep. I'm a mechanical engineer by profession, so I don't know much about electronics, and that's why I'm here. Trying to learn.
I don't know much about anything. I'm just here.
A little bit about everything.
I'm the learning electronics.
Are you all electronics or electrical engineer mostly?
Oh, no.
It's mostly hobbyists.
This is the computer.
There's a wide range.
If anyone wants this,
Me?
Leroy,
it is
you're going to be dead.
I am going to be dead.
You're going to be dead.
Wait, what is
that?
This is an old
F-R-E.
Z80 program.
You probably would get a whole lot.
Um,
You'd get a
it-
whole
it
lot
was
more
a-
use out of it than I would.
An educational kit. Actually, I got it from UC surplus sale. And it has the original manual. It has all of the code. It has tape ports so you can save it to tape.
Cassette tape.
Yep.
Wow, it's really high
What's the
tech.
copyright date on the manual?
I believe it's 87 or 8. Yeah, this thing.
See the 80?
Z80?
First printing August 1982.
Okay. Is that what they thought analog computers were a good thing?
Hmm?
How many people have ever seen an analog computer? How many people have ever built an analog computer?
I actually saw an analog
I've
computer.
seen, yeah.
It was 3 nichrome wires is what it was.
I saw an old, it rotated. It had it was like a calculator, and it rotated. They called it an analog computing machine, and it worked amazingly.
Really?
Yeah. But actually better. It was if you knew how to use it, you could do it faster than you could with a calculator. My other project for the ongoing week, a couple weeks ago, we had talked a little bit. I have been doing some battery tests
Mm-hmm.
with no sensor or anything. I've gotten one of those D1 minis on a 240 milliamp hour battery to run over 12 days now.
Really? 240 is pretty small.
It's very, you know those little silver batteries that I bring in?
Mm-hmm.
It's been running for 12 days now.
So on a double A, it should go a month.
Well,
no problem.
Here's my thinking on
Those are
this.
1,000.
Well, yeah, but here's my thinking. Even with the WAs, you need a regulator.
Mm-hmm.
So the regulator board is already set up for the LiPos, and the LiPo, I found some LiPos for like $2 a piece. So they're cheap enough, and they're actually bigger cells than those little 240
Mm-hmm.
milliamps. So I think you could do it all reasonably using the LiPos and get a reasonable amount of time out of them.
Cool.
Because like you could still need the regulator.
Yeah.
So same maybe.
Cool.
But that I am currently running a secondary test with the temperature sensor.
Mm-hmm.
Because the first test has been running for so long, I started the second test with a second D1 Mini and another battery just to see what its range were, but I'm expecting it to last. This one hasn't concluded. I don't know why I'm expecting it to last at least as long as, at least within a couple of days of the other one, because that temperature sensor can't take a whole lot of power.
No, I wouldn't think so. That's cool. Thank you.
So I'm trying to conduct a little experiment. I'm posting the results. I posted the results on G+, but they're being sent to Google Sheets, so anybody can go and look at and see the data that's changed. And there's links to that and I go through and I write notes. I haven't checked on it today. I know the first one, the one that's been running over 12 days now, lost 2 hours somewhere. I have no idea where it lost 2 hours at, but it lost 2 hours. I don't know if it just couldn't connect to the internet or if the service I'm using to post was gone, but it lost 2 hours somewhere. I'm going to have to take that into consideration, but it seems like it every single time it's posted.
That's cool. More on this. I got into electronics a long time ago, and there were three families. There was Zilog, there was Motorola, and there was Intel. And they all had their families of support
They have this
chips.
for a week to work with it.
No, you can have it.
I will make something and show the next week with this.
Okay.
I need to make a power supply, but
that has the assembler built into it.
I know.
Pretty
I still
interesting.
remember the CIDA assembly.
So
Remember your college days?
this is a Zilog processor, and it has mostly Intel support chips, which is weird because
It's a superset of the Intel 80,
well, yeah, the 80, 85, but Zilog had their own I/O ports and stuff, and this uses the 8155, which I haven't figured out. Why mix? But I also have one of these for 8085 and for Motorola, and they're all mixed stuff. I don't know why.
What's this?
It's got to go with that kit.
Yeah, it just plugs it. Doesn't do anything. Well, don't put it that way or it'll squish.
It's a radio antenna
It's a radio.
It's a radio antenna.
Yeah.
or microwaves.
Thank you for taking that home. It saves us burial expenses for him.
Yeah,
His wife would do it.
if
No
it's an
more
8088
stuff.
or a 8080 or whatever, I can't really do it. I remember owning computers that had 8080s.
And
The
playing with
Nearston only.
it really reminds me how far this sort of stuff has come, and how much higher the language is.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to worry about data direction registers or filling buffers and all of the little minutia that went along with learning how to program one of these things.
I think I think one of the first computers I had an 8085 in it.
Yeah.
And I did a couple
Mine
of
did.
well, I did a couple of machine language things and went, nope, not for me, done.
Oh, see, I loved it. So a long time ago, the Seattle Robotics Club was pretty big, and one of their founders was a fellow named Marvin Green, and he sold robot boards, and all it was a Motorola MC68 811 or HC 811 processor. I mean, there was nothing else there. There was a crystal, two caps, and that HC 811. And they were, I mean, he was selling these things, and I came across a stash of chips, and traded chips for boards, and so.
He probably wants to see a robot balance.
I think so.
That would be great.
Since he got here a little late.
Yeah, get my act
Move
together.
the Pepsi.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to pop up, but I think my batteries are getting a little weak, so I get to help it. Oh, wrong button.
I brought something else that
Oh, it popped up
They
that
got
time.
juiced up in here.
Go that way.
Those batteries are still juiced.
There's no sensors on it, so if it comes towards you, don't let it fall off the... It won't hurt you or anything. Maybe.
until we put the knives on it. No.
Supposed to be a figure 8.
What is the front box supposed to do? This one?
In case it falls.
Ah, okay. For stability.
Well, no, actually, I could take that off. It's not for stabilization. It's really to protect the electronics.
Ah,
So,
And
Hulu, who makes that, has said that once you get used to how it works, you can remove those bumpers. It's a learning thing. So,
okay.
Not for the robot at all.
No.
For me.
it's so that you don't destroy your electronics. It's what it is.
You said Hulu makes it?
Hulu.
Hulu?
Yeah, P-O-L-O-L-U.
Okay.
like polo with L-O on the end, or L-U on the end. Is it L-U or L-O?
It's L-U.
So, like, how did you make it?
It comes as a kit. The circuit board's already made.
Okay.
You just need 2 gear motors. They recommend the 50 to 1s.
Okay.
Then they recommend the 80 millimeter wheels. The program their example program is already set up for the 50 to 1s and the 80 millimeter wheels. And then they recommend, there's a second gearbox in here which is, I keep forgetting it. It's 2.4 to 1
Okay.
ratio.
Yeah.
Their sketch is already set up with all that, with some minor tweaking because everything's a little different. It's basically just a couple of solder joints. You solder the motors to the board.
Okay.
So there's 4 solder points there. You solder the battery terminals, which I'm blind and can't see. There's the battery terminal. And that's really, I think, all the soldering that it actually requires. You put the battery terminals
Okay.
actually into the battery chassis, and you put your gear motor. It comes with a set of gear motors,
Okay.
but I put the wrong set in to start with, and through the whole entire calculation, just off. I did get it to balance, but it was a lot harder. And if you're just learning how to do it, go with what they've already done. because they've already figured it out. But it comes with a complete set of gear more gears for the plastic. Comes with 2 sets of these the bumpers or whatever, and you can configure those in different ways. So it's
almost looks like they were designed so you could put a servo on there.
Yeah, they weren't, but it almost looks like it. They tell you how you could change the starting angle. So it wants to start like that, but you could have it start like this or start like this or whatever. They tell you how to do that. Like I said, for just learning purposes, it's way easier to keep it the way they got it set up, because if you, as I found out, if you change one little thing, like you get the gear ratio wrong, it's just nasty.
You change the gain of the control loop.
Yeah, exactly. It's just nasty. They're only using, it's got a compass and a gyroscope on it, but they're only using the Y axis of the compass. They give you some hints and some examples to maybe try to use the other parts. Yes, I know. I said
compass and not gyro?
Yeah.
First it said gyro.
The y-axis of the gyro. Yes. What did I say? Compass?
You said the y-axis of the compass, and I'm trying to figure that out too. I'm like,
you said gyro when you
but I didn't say anything. I haven't looked
take
at
out.
Hey.
Brain's flip-flopping.
Yeah. It's an inverted pendulum, so I'm inverted, right? But they give you some hints on how to improve the code. They're basically a learning company, so they're in a lot of schools, and they're trying to teach robotics and whatever. So they're trying to not give you everything you need, but give you enough to get you going.
Is that similar to what Ray does?
Sorta, yeah.
He's another
yeah, what's his name?
His name's Ray, and he does robots and stuff.
Ray.
First name's Ray.
Oh, okay, Ray.
He's part of the group. You'll meet him one of these days.
His last name's Scott.
Scott, that's right.
And
Laser Rabbit?
Rabbit Laser, yeah.
Rabbit Laser and Laser Robot.
Okay.
Robots and lasers.
Robots and lasers. Is there anything else?
Yeah.
But that's the basics of it. The code is actually pretty easy to follow. It's pretty well documented, but you don't want to jump too far ahead without starting off at the beginning.
So I guess the next step on the progress for this would be make it more stable, or because right now I see it does this and that.
Actually, when before you got, I put fresh batteries in it.
Okay.
It seems to be draining batteries rather quickly, because it was running really good with the fresh batteries. So yeah, that's something to look at. Is just how much battery power this thing actually uses. The one thing that I would like is some sort of edge detection or line following detection or something like that.
Well, he said it's supposed to do a figure 8.
Yeah, and if you really watch it, it was.
Yeah, but
it's too small.
Sorry, no volume control. Does it follow the load on the motors?
The sketch that is currently on it does not. That's one of their things that they tell you. They give you hints onto how to make it actually get the battery voltage and either ramp up or ramp down the batteries based on the actual voltage.
I actually didn't understand your question.
Well, because people were stopping it by putting their hand in front of it and it runs into you. And I was wondering if it had some code in there to reverse when it saw that the motor was stalled.
So what it's actually doing, so this is the front. The battery is the front. So when runs into you like that, so
it tips and then has to get its wheels back under itself
right.
to keep moving.
So when it's moving backwards, it should be tipped forward to move backward. It's exactly opposite of what you would think.
Yeah, that is.
So when it actually hits you and it tilts the other way, it'll go off in the other direction.
There's Ray Scott, Rabbit Robot.
The documentation actually says it's counterintuitive to think of it forward as forward. When it tips, it's actually trying to go in, because the wheels are going to all of a sudden start spinning the other direction.
Yeah.
So in a weird sort of way, it makes sense.
On a similar note, if you're riding a bicycle, if you want to turn left, you turn the handlebars right.
Yeah.
You guide the wheel out from under you and then lean.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
You don't think about it, but if you sit there and try to think about it, you go, why does that make sense? Why does that work? But that's it. If it's tilted like this, it's going that direction. If it's tilted like this, it's going that direction.
What kind of controller does it use?
I'm sorry?
What kind of controller does it use?
Okay.
It's very fast acting, so.
This is basically a Leonardo, an Arduino Leonardo.
Okay.
The chip is the same. It's their own. They call it an A-star board, an A-star 32 U4, but essentially it's an Arduino Leonardo. They've included various sensors and various upgrade options. We've even got quadrilateral encoders, which is how it knows where the wheels are actually.
Okay.
So when it starts to tip, it knows, it needs to speed up or slow down or rotate them differently when it's turning. Because it can count all that stuff.
Yeah.
Don't think about it too hard.
Well, no, it just seems like I wouldn't think it would need to know the rotation of the motors, just more or less. That seems like that would be sufficient. Of course, I've never gotten one to balance, and I tried. So.
They're pretty sophisticated. I've had 2 or 3 self-balancing robots, and this is the first one that actually has worked right.
I would have thought that it would have used the gyroscope data to stabilize.
It's using a bunch of different things. It's doing rotation counts. It's using the gyroscope. It's looking at the compass heading. It's doing all kinds of stuff inside the code, and it's called a PID loop, and it's basically always trying to get to 0, and it never will. It always is going to be somewhere in between, but it's always trying to get to 0, and it can do that by speeding the wheels up or slowing the wheels down, or turning a certain way, and it's actually balancing. I'm actually impressed.
Yeah.
It's not on though.
Yeah, it's not on.
That's
So
the club robot that Ray built.
Okay.
People was available for people in the club.
So that's also that's 2 wheels.
Yeah, 2 wheels.
It's a tail dragger. And there's the wiring diagram. Ray's got a lot in here. He's done a lot of work on these things.
So how did he make all that enclosure and all?
He owns a laser cutting business, and he laser cuts all his parts.
Plastic parts and all.
He's gone to polystyrene, very tough sheet.
Yeah.
Tough was the main. He was vinyl. Vinyl?
It's acrylic.
was very pretty, but the polished iron is just tough, unbreakable tough.
So, if it's a
Where is
fresh
that?
made, you can smell it
Yes.
still.
So where is that robot at?
Ray,
Okay.
he,
I'll put the link to it's rabbitrobots.com,
Okay.
and it's
he's in Middletown.
It's on
Yeah.
Hook Drive in Middletown.
I mean, they go to the website. I was showing you the list. They're just an amazing.
I don't think he's ready to sell any of it yet, though.
No, okay.
But he would sell you one if you wanted one.
Yeah.
I was just curious.
He sells a lot of stuff to universities and schools.
Does it?
You see
Yeah,
this?
teaching.
You see this one? It's
Yeah, I'd be interested because
It
I'd want to
self-balances.
learn, so
Yeah.
I don't have much.
I've
knowledge
never gotten
about all
into
this.
self-balance
Man,
right.
that guy knows.
I mean,
Knows.
close, but it
Yeah.
keeps going back and
The
forth
bitty
and back and
rover
forth.
would be consistent
They're
with what
using
most of us have.
Okay.
I brought mine in a few weeks ago to do
batteries.
the demo for the trash can transport. I
But
did
you
the
lose a lot
programming on
of power there.
that
No?
Yeah.
for my project. Went
Instead
up
of
down the driveway with
1.5
that.
is 1.2.
And with a wheelbase that short, my
0.3
wheelbase is
volts
going to be
in
this
battery.
wide. So
I'm using these.
You
They're
want to
just
learn
generic.
about it, raise the guy.
You're losing a
He's
lot
the
of
guy
power.
too.
Yeah.
we
6
have some
batteries,
sharp guys here.
like
Sharp guy.
1.8.
Steve's sharp too.
Yeah.
Something.
How long have you been doing this? How long?
Well,
I'm not the
I probably
robotic
shouldn't have
person.
bought.
Yeah.
I
The,
probably shouldn't have bought
We got
cheap
Vicente,
generic
who's
batteries.
1.5, but there's no
done
charge,
project work,
right?
process
Yeah,
of project work
they
for
were
years, doing it
$5
for a
for
living.
24 of
Very
them.
smart,
And
very
I
knowledgeable.
cheaped out. I probably should have
we got a
cheaped
Unix
out.
Maybe less,
engineer,
but
we
the
got
better.
Unix and toys and robots.
But I probably shouldn't have
And,
cheaped
uh,
out.
security
I probably should have
man
just
down
went and
there.
bought Duracell and
Uh,
been done with
the
it.
The best-
Some of the best
security
batteries I've
of your
found
system,
are wires.
The best battery,
And also the lock
price,
for,
performance is
lock
the
for,
Kirkland of
picking locks,
Costco.
locks and things
Yeah.
like that.
And
Security
my brother-in-law
guy and locks.
managed,
Yeah,
used to manage in
There we got there.
the Duracell batteries
Yeah.
in Procter & Gamble, and they manufacture Duracell with the Kirkland brand, but it's the same battery.
Frank is
The
a
same-
It's the same one.
It's
computer
supposed to be the same
guy,
thing
and
at
he
Harbor
teaches
Freight,
at
by
the
the way.
same state, but he's
They're
not
made
here
by,
today.
yeah.
These are Harbor Freight ones, but these were the cheap Harbor Freight,
Oh,
not
not
the
the-
not the expensive Harbor Freight.
Oh, okay. Are they alkaline?
Yeah, and they're obviously they're not as good as
Yes,
the other.
The knockoff?
The best one relationship between quality and price is the Kirkland, the brand.
Uh-huh.
Because
And when the alarm goes off at 5 till,
The Gestapo comes out and
he wants to be cleared out of here.
well, our rule is 5 minutes till we start heading towards it, we pack up, start packing up. And lately we
I've got
had,
something else for you if you wanted to.
We're supposed to be out of here at 7.
Seven.
Girl Scouts
Yeah.
coming in and just cooking.
another bit, we respect they're kind of like, I inherited this, they're like, they were very Gestapo-like
Right.
about getting us out of here for the next group. So, you know,
wanted a
we're
SIM card.
guests here, so we're Gestapo.
Okay.
And we'll get you out of here.
It's
The lights go
the
out, things
out
like
of
that.
a
Last
All-Star
call,
Cape
last call
robot
to you.
with
Yeah.
a 400 cartridge.
So as
You were
soon as
talking
the alarm
about that,
goes off,
yeah.
some people don't even
you
speak.
used to
just start
program
moving.
using Turbo Pascal.
Oh, yeah, long
That's-
time ago.
What's going
Yeah.
on in the Unix world this week? Anything new? Anything exciting?
There's some issues with the ZFS file system that are fighting me in the posterior.
ZFS file system, that would be particular flavor of Unix?
Oh, no. That is a specific
It's-
file
it's
system. Like you've got MS-DOS
no
and
power.
NTFS. ZFS is another one, and there are
It's been
some race
sitting there for 10
conditions that are
minutes.
showing up
I'll take a
that
picture of that.
are affecting one of my database servers.
You would
That's
think
all
that it
sorts
would
of fun.
not want to stand, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's a command
It should be
called
balanced.
FS
I mean,
transform that you give it a live
It looks
file
so
system
secure.
and convert
Go
it to
back a
something
week
else.
from now, if no one messes with it,
I'm
it probably
debating on
stands.
whether or not to try that.
Oh, I know what I was going to say.
So we might do each week, maybe you could bring in a topic for Unix world. What's happening in the Unix world?
Okay.
We know we're gonna get what's happening from the robot world from this guy.
And he runs the Cincinnati Linux group. That's how I met him.
If anybody wants to go to it, our next meeting is this coming Saturday.
Send me a note and I'll put it on.
I'm gonna be there.
We meet at the Norwood branch, the Cincinnati Library. They have a meeting room in the basement.
And they have free beer and what?
No,
And
that's
Skittles?
That's afterwards. We go to Gordo's across the street.
But it's not free.
Not free, sadly, no.
Yeah.
They do have some good sandwiches.
I know. I remember what I was going to say about this thing.
Getting really good battery life right now.
Yeah, it is. It's doing really well. So the way the sketch works, they've got a test model where it doesn't play the music or try to do the figure eight. It basically balances, and the thing is even when it's supposedly balanced, it still gyrates back and forth a little bit. I mean, that's just the nature of what it does.
Yeah.
And it'll roll it'll roll forward and it'll roll backwards and it just sort of gyrates. So you could work out a lot of those oscillations. They give you some hints, but you're never going to get rid of all of them. It's just never going to happen.
Take more samples in the PID and
well,
yeah.
At some point you just kind of got to go, is it good? Is it good? Did it fall over? No, it didn't fall over. Good. Good. Ship it. Make it go. I know when I was playing with it and the batteries were getting really, really weak, I couldn't even get it to just stand up. So,
I'm curious how much less stable it would be if we put lithium batteries in there, which weigh less but have more capacity, more current available.
Yeah.
Because then the motors would react more quickly and wouldn't need to.
Well,
that'd be a fun experiment.
When you get that swing.
Yeah.
From what I can tell from me just playing, not making any real changes, putting this on didn't affect it one bit.
Really?
Yeah. So changing the batteries probably wouldn't make a big bit of difference. Maybe a little bit.
Yeah. So I would have thought wrap that top bar with solder and it would be much more stable.
Now, when I had both of them on there, that did make a little bit of a difference. But my batteries were also very weak at the time too.
Yeah.
So just having I know you can't really tell. Most of the weight is down in crap.
Yeah, and that seems backwards. I would think they would want the weight as far from the axle as possible.
Where I've always been told that the weight needs to be at the top, and
yeah.
But wouldn't that make it very unstable?
But it gives it inertia, which makes it easier to drive the wheels underneath the mass.
Yeah, when you've got a lot of weight up at top, it moves. The weight moves slower than it does down here, so it gives it more time to correct. Is that right?
Think of balancing a cue stick on your finger or something very light. It's harder to balance a light thing than a heavy thing. Hysteresis.
If you take a broomstick, for instance, and you try to balance the big part of the broom, it'll fall over all the times. And if you flip it over and put the broom up on top, it moves a little slower and you've got time to correct it and you can balance it out a little easier. Still not easy, but...
For the new guys, this is your meeting announcement. Both of you have a copy of it now in your email. This is the meetup connection.
I think I'm taking batteries out of this thing. It's turned on by itself a bunch of
Just take this announcement right here, and I'm putting the laser rabbit or the rabbit robots link in here so you can see that. And Leroy has a link if he wants to put it to his demo.
For the next meeting, Fox 2 demo.
Fox 2?
Fox 2, okay. And here's the notes for next meeting, Z80
I
blast
don't know
from the
that
past.
works.
Well, I have all the parts. I have spare parts for
I think it doesn't.
Cup Hill.
Yeah.
I'll get it. Cup Hill.
So
And
when I
that's
get
no
it, about
regulator, I
6
need to
years.
put the 5 volts
It'll take us a while.
and 25 amps.
Yeah. As long as you're in the realm, I love
Yeah.
I got a last name, we don't say it.
Oh, yeah.
Also.
We just
That's
do
why I
it.
didn't even try. Even my colleagues don't try.
Still-
my
It's
best.
really long.
Nanduana.
I think the
Yeah, it's a lot.
Maybe for the standard.
It's a mouse,
version,
it's a
but
mic.
You don't have any expansion.
Nice seeing me again.
all of the chips are definitely 5 volts.
And that's where you
My
just.
friend